For American Family News, I'm Chris Woodward. The Southern Baptist Convention's annual meeting, scheduled for this June in Orlando, has been canceled. That's according to Ronnie Floyd, President and Chief Executive Officer of the SBC Executive Committee. The decision was made in light of the COVID-19 global pandemic, which Floyd says the SBC constitutes a grave emergency. President Trump held a town hall with Fox News today to discuss his administration's effort to combat the coronavirus pandemic. Here's Fox's John Decker.
During a virtual town hall on Fox News, the president expressed his desire to get people back to work and reignite the U.S. economy.
We're going to be opening relatively soon. Our time comes up on Monday or Tuesday, the allotted 2 weeks, but we'll stay a little bit longer than that.
U.S. Surgeon General Jerome Adams says the U.S. will experience more coronavirus deaths in the weeks ahead. As a result, more states have imposed extreme measures, including shutting down businesses and ordering residents to stay at home to try to slow the spread of the disease.
Well, some countries are using people's phones to track the coronavirus. Fox's Brett Larson has more on Fox on Tech.
Right now, the head of the Czech government crisis team is using real-time phone location data to track carriers of the virus and the people they come in contact with. The goal is simple: pinpoint where infections are flaring up and how they're spreading, and when health workers need to step in and quarantine or contain people. The Czech Republic is the first European nation to make the move, though Britain, Germany, and Italy are considering similar approaches to stopping the spread of the respiratory illness. Israel has already been using location data to track people and alert users if they've been in close proximity of someone known to be infected or in an area where there was a flare-up.
2 men are now facing charges for using small bombs to rob ATMs in Florida. Here's Fox's Evan Brown.
Federal investigators say 2 men from the Tampa Bay area are now accused of using explosives to break into ATMs and steal about $70,000. 34-year-old Kirk Johnson and 33-year-old Mado Sala are facing up to 20 years in federal prison. They're charged with injecting flammable liquids into the machines. The pair was arrested Sunday after they allegedly did the same to an ATM in Georgia.
Minnesota pro-life groups are pushing for passage of a bill to ban use of tax dollars for elective abortions in spite of opposition. AFN reporter Charlie Butts has details.
Use of tax dollars to terminate preborn children has a history in the state. Paul Stark of Minnesota Citizens Concerned for Life tells AFN in 1995, the Minnesota Supreme Court ruled that the state had to use Medicaid funds to pay for the abortions.
So ever since this ruling, the number of abortions in Minnesota paid for by taxpayers has been going up most years. In the latest year for which we have data, which is 2017, well over 4,000 abortions in Minnesota were paid for by taxpayers.
In 2011 and 17, bills were passed in both houses of the legislature only to be vetoed by the governor. It's been introduced again, but the prospects of signing it into law are dim. So the opportunity is being used to educate the public.
Even just introducing legislation and making the public aware of this problem that is happening in Minnesota. Most people don't support using their tax dollars to pay for abortion. Even if you support abortion, funding it with the tax dollars of pro-life people, that's another step that most people don't agree with.
Stark says they will continue to press the measure until it passes and is signed into law. At that point, it would be challenged in court and would give the state's highest court a chance to review and overturn its 1995 ruling. I'm Charlie Butts.
In final news this hour, the Ohio man who gained notoriety last week for indulging in spring break partying during a pandemic despite warnings against large gatherings has apologized. USA Today reports Brady Sluter says he realizes he's not invincible after all, adding, "I was not aware of the severity of my actions and comments. I'd like to take this time to own up to the mistakes I've made and apologize to the people I've offended."
The following program is pre-recorded.
A monthly mortgage payment is the biggest expense in most household budgets. Paying off your mortgage early is a huge step toward financial freedom. But to take that step, you have to know exactly what you're doing. So should you make bi-monthly payments? What about refinancing? Are there pitfalls to paying off your mortgage early? Financial advisor and teacher Rob West has the answers to those things today. Then we'll take your calls on anything at 800-525-7000, 800-525-7000. I'm Steve Moore. Tips for an early mortgage payoff. Straight ahead right here on MoneyWise. Well, Rob, paying off your mortgage early can save you thousands of dollars, if not tens of thousands of dollars in interest. But I guess there are some right ways and maybe some not so right ways to doing this, huh?
I'd prefer to say it's almost always a great way to save a lot of money. But yes, there are some pitfalls to steer clear of.
All right, fair enough. Basically, then, what's involved in paying off your mortgage early?
Yeah. Well, obviously, you make extra payments, and there are any number of ways you can do that. For example, you can pay something extra every month, or you can make one entire extra payment at the end of the year. There's not much difference in savings between the two, but if you really want to crunch the numbers, monthly extra payments will save a little more. That's because the extra payment would be applied against the principal sooner than the extra annual payment at the end of the year. But again, the difference isn't a lot. Now, my preference is just to pay a little more each month because you can build it right into your plan.
All right. Is that it then for the actual mechanisms to paying off your mortgage early?
No, there are two more. You can also make a lump sum payment if you happen to come into some type of windfall, for example, an inheritance. And then there's the bi-monthly payment strategy. Now, some lenders will allow you to make a half payment every 2 weeks instead of one monthly payment. Now, that's a bit of a misnomer because it actually means you're paying half of the monthly payment every 2 weeks, not twice a month. And by paying half every 2 weeks, you make an extra half payment twice a year. That adds up to one extra whole payment per year. If you're lost, let me clarify for you. If you pay every 2 weeks, there's actually 26 two-week periods, which means you end up with 13 full payments. And yes, that is one extra.
Boy, we're really into math here, aren't we, today? Okay, so what about the pitfalls of paying off your mortgage early? You said it was almost always a great idea.
Right. You can get into trouble if there's a prepayment penalty in your loan agreement, so you need to pull out your closing documents and check for that or call your lender. They're very rare these days, so you'll likely find that that's not the case. If it is, though, they're usually a percentage of the loan or equal to a number of monthly interest payments, and they can really add up. For example, a 3% prepayment penalty on a $200,000 mortgage could cost you $6,000. Now, the good news is even if you have a prepayment penalty in your mortgage agreement, most lenders will allow you to pay off up to 20% of your loan each year without triggering the penalty. So unless you're making a very large lump sum payment, you should be okay.
All right, good. All right, so what's your next tip for us?
Well, make sure any extra payments are applied to the principal portion of your balance, not the interest. So if you're writing an extra check, make sure to put that in the memo line. If you pay online, you'll have to check to see how to make the extra payment go toward the principal. Either way, it's probably a good idea to call your lender for specific instructions.
Okay. Otherwise, the extra money will go toward next month's interest payment, and you won't lower your overall principal. All right. What else?
Well, another thing you want to avoid is overextending yourself. So once you start to see progress in making your remaining principal go down, it might be easy to pour all of your surplus income into paying off your mortgage early, but you don't want to make yourself cash poor in the process, and you certainly don't want to deplete your emergency fund to do it. You've got to leave yourself some margin.
All righty. And anything else?
Well, just one more thing, Steve. Refinancing to a lower interest rate can be a great way to free up money for extra mortgage payments, especially with interest rates as low as they are now. But you want to make sure you get the rate lowered by at least 1%. Also, you don't want to refinance unless you know you'll be in the home for a minimum of 5 years to recoup your closing costs. And finally, do not extend the term of your loan. So if you're 5 years into a 30-year mortgage, try to refinance to a 25-year mortgage or less. Otherwise, you'll end up paying more in interest, wiping out any savings you might have made.
You know, it wasn't that long ago, Rob, that people said if you couldn't save at least 2 interest points on your mortgage from a refinancing standpoint, that it wasn't worth doing it. Would you say that's correct still?
No, I think anything over a point, as long as you're going to stay in the home at least 5 years to recoup the costs, is in your favor.
All right. You're listening to MoneyWise. He's Rob West. I'm Steve Moore. We'll return with your calls after this.
Money and life run on the same track. But unfortunately, sometimes it seems like your money is heading in a different direction from your goals. In Never Enough, 3 Keys to Financial Contentment, author Ron Blue helps you to break down all your financial options to a basic 4, and then shows you how to keep it all chugging along in the right direction on the same track. Never Enough, 3 Keys to Financial Contentment. Available when you click the store button at moneywise.org.
How should we as Christians think about investing? What if we could invest our money in a way that aligns with what we believe? At Eventide, we believe it is possible to love God and love our neighbor in the very practice of investing. We design investments for performance and a better world so you can invest for the future with a sense of wholeness and purpose. We call this investing that makes the world rejoice. More information is available at investeventide.com.
It's MoneyWise, and we're glad to have you listening and glad to have you out there today. We still have some open phone lines. Here's the number, 800-525-7000. Let's chat. Let's go to our phones. Indianapolis, Indiana. Karen, thanks for holding. What's on your mind?
I'm around 80 years old, and I'm going to be looking for another home between 140,000 to 135,000, and everything I've looked at is probably at least 150,000, and then I have to consider homeowners association and more taxes. My husband and I are on a fixed income, just Social Security and a little pension. Just wondering if I just don't want to go into this and have a big mortgage payment because I can't afford that. So just wanted to get your ideas on what I should be looking for. If I only get $135,000 for my house, what can I afford?
Okay. What do you think? You said the home is worth $135,000. Do you have a mortgage on it currently?
No, it's paid for.
Okay. I see. All right. And so then the question is, if you were to spend a little bit more than you get out of the home, assuming you would take 100% of the proceeds of the sale and put it into the next home, you're wondering whether you could afford to take on a small mortgage to cover the difference. Is that right?
Right. Now I do have money in a savings account, and I don't know. I could probably use some of that, or should I take out a loan? We have right now close to $50,000 in that savings account.
Okay, very good. And are you able to cover your bills, Karen, every month based on the fixed income that you have without taking anything out of savings?
Right. I can right now. But my other question was, too, if my husband should pass away, because we're depending mostly on our Social Security, would I be able to get part of his Social Security if he passed away?
Well, it depends on a number of factors in terms of what you would get. So I would check with SSA.gov or make an appointment with your local office there just so they can go through all of the numbers with you and give you a sense of what you would be entitled to based on your benefits or collecting spousal benefits at his passing. That would be an important piece because really, Karen, this comes back to the budget. If you're going to spend a little bit more, even if you come out of savings to do it, you're pointing out a good idea here, and that is that you've got to take the total cost of ownership into account. So if taxes are going up, if utilities are going up, if there's an HOA and there wasn't, or it's higher, we've got to understand all of those costs and make sure that it fits into your budget, doesn't put a strain on you. And we ought to factor in what the Social Security picture will look like in the event he were to pass away before you, so that you understand exactly what you'd be dealing with in terms of income. Have you spent some time looking to see if you could buy a home that's equal value or even perhaps a little bit less? It sounds like that was a struggle, but perhaps there's some other options out there you could look for?
Most of the things that I've looked for were around 150,000, and so that's kind of the average price that I can see.
Yeah. Okay. Well, perhaps there's a realtor there in your local church, somebody you could connect with who might be able to give you some other ideas, maybe something or an area of town or a neighborhood you might have missed. I think the key is to go back to that budget and really plug in the numbers and understand fully what the impact will be of you spending a little bit more. I'm not excited about you taking on a mortgage right now, so I think whatever you do, we'd probably want to pull out of savings, but I really would love for you to have at least 6 months, preferably between 6 and 12 months worth of expenses in that reserve in case something unforeseen came, a major medical expense, and I'd rather that not be tied up in the home. So I'd try to pull as little as possible out of the savings. Why don't we do this? We have some MoneyWise coaches that are available, Karen. They'd be delighted to walk alongside you. And if you can get the numbers based on the properties you're looking at in terms of what would the taxes be, what are the average utilities, try to get some of these details that they can help you plug into the budget to get an accurate picture of what your expenses would look like if you were to purchase one of these homes that you're looking at and pull some out of savings to be able to make the purchase for cash. That will help you to understand whether or not you can accomplish this or it's going to put a strain on the budget. Then I think the next piece is to find out exactly the impact of Social Security. And then if you have other questions, give us a call back. But you can connect with one of those coaches on our website at moneywise.org. Just click Connect with a Coach, and they'd be happy to help you.
Karen, we wish you the best, both you and your husband. Thank you very much. Naples, Florida. Aaron, what's your question for Rob?
About $10,000 in credit card debt, and I didn't know what was a faster way to pay it off, just to take like the one with the least amount of debt and just try to go at it as fast as I can, or to take I get offered, like loans that would consolidate all three, costs into one at like a reduced percentage rate and to pay it off that way. I mean, which is just a smarter way to go at it.
Yeah. Well, Aaron, I mean, if you put it on paper and you crunch the numbers, you may be able to make a case for rolling them all together. I just don't like that approach because we're taking out new debt to pay them off. A lot of times we extend the term when we do that. So even though the interest rate is lower, we end up paying more over the life of the payback. A lot of times the payments are less, and so that can cause you to end up paying more. My preference would be for you to take one of two approaches. Number one is what you just mentioned, the debt snowball, where you line them up, smallest balance to largest, you pay all the minimums, but you take every available dollar of margin that is over and above your expenses, and you attack the smallest balance, get it paid off, and then move right on down the line. The other approach is to contact Christian credit counselors and use a debt management program. They'll help you pay it back 80% faster on average, and they do that by having a fixed monthly payment and a reduction of interest rates. The accounts will be closed, but you'll get those paid off much quicker and you'll pay less in the process. And you can explore that option at christiancreditcounselors.org. So I'd use one of those two. I wouldn't go out and get a new loan to pay it off, though.
Gotcha. It's good to have you listening today, and we appreciate your support as well, support that's so vital to keep us on the air. You can give quickly and safely by clicking the Donate tab when you visit moneywise.org. More after this.
Did you know the MoneyWise listener call-in line at 800-525-7000 is open for business 24 hours a day? It's the number that never sleeps. So when the kids are off to school or you have a few minutes before that power lunch with a client, give us a call and leave your question. We use as many of them as we can on the show. 800-525-7000 is all you need to know to get biblically based answers to your questions here at MoneyWise. Call anytime. You won't catch us napping.
If you need investing guidance, you probably want help that's grounded in God's Word. That's the approach taken by Sound Mind Investing. Since 1990, SMI has helped tens of thousands of Christians acquire wisdom and confidence in their investing. Regardless of your investing experience or how much you have to invest, you can learn to be a good and faithful steward in the area of investing. More information about SMI and its approach to financial wisdom for living well is available online at soundmindinvesting.org.
The book of John tells us, by this all men will know that you are my disciples. Is it because your checkbook is balanced? No. Is it because you give lots of money to the church? No. It's because you have love for one another. John 13:35. Out to Kansas City, Missouri. Hi, Chris. How are you today, sir?
Good. Thanks for taking my call.
Happy to have you aboard, sir. How can we help?
So, I guess in my financial changes over life, I've been on the Dave Ramsey Eliminate Debt Plan for about 15 months now. We've eliminated all our credit card debt. We've knocked out about 2/3 of all other debt other than the house. And one of the next things we're hoping to do is start a business. And through starting a business, since we got more cash flow, we were really hoping to encourage our employees to contribute to a 401k plan and match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was wondering how that process kind of looked for an individual starting their own company.
Yeah. Well, I think the first question you have to answer is the 401k an option for you? Are you eligible? It typically would be appropriate for a private or public company, but in your case, a private company with more than 20 employees. Would that be the case with your business?
Probably not starting out. No, it'd probably be a smaller shop than that, but eventually, we'd hope to get that big.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's really the key, is understanding whether or not, that is the best option for you. A lot of times for folks just starting out, they will go with something that is designed for a smaller business, a little easier to set up, not as much paperwork, administration, or cost as a 401k, which is although there is a version for a small business called an SBO 401k, it still is a lot more complicated to maintain. So you could look into it, again, depending on how many workers you're planning to start out with. And there's, any number of vendors that could help you set that up, Fidelity and Merrill and T. Rowe Price. And, there's even Betterment now has an option for business, American Funds, Charles Schwab. I mean, any of them all offer their variety of 401k plan, and they can help you not only get it set up, do all the paperwork and the administration, but give your employees internet access to go in and manage their contributions, pick the investments, that type of thing. Oftentimes for a smaller business, Chris, that's just getting started, a simple IRA is a better option. Very easy to set up and maintain. The cost is a lot lower, and as long as you have 100 or fewer employees, it can work very, very well. The contribution limits are not as high as a 401k, which is in excess of $19,000. They're not going to be able to put away quite that much, but still they could put a meaningful amount away. Plus, you can match a portion of it for each employee, and you've got a couple of options there. And again, very inexpensive and easy to set up. And again, a lot of the big players would have options there, Fidelity and many others. So I would look into that first, a simple IRA as an option. But I think having some sort of company-sponsored plan that your employees can access would obviously give you a competitive advantage to attract and retain quality workers, because benefits are key, and being able to put something away on a tax-deferred or tax-free growth basis is really something that employees will highly value. And so I would certainly continue down this road as you explore this.
Does that make sense, Chris?
IRA. Yeah, that's fantastic.
All right. Okay. Minerva, Ohio. Hi, John. What's on your mind?
Hi, gents. Thanks so much for taking my call. Very much appreciate your show and what you do. Just a quick background. I am not that old, 52, and unfortunately disabled, 18 back surgeries and a disease. It's just awful. But because I did fairly well before that, my disability monthly is about $4,000 with a daughter, and that covers pretty much what we need. Now I'm getting an inheritance that is about $150,000, and I have a home, mortgage, and just one vehicle paying on. Unfortunately, our well collapsed during the summer, so I had to put that on a credit card. And once I get this, I will do, tithe right off the bat, period. That's the most important thing. Pay off that debt of the credit card and probably pay the vehicle down below what it's worth. But I always go to the Social Security office before any type of income comes in that's different, because I do not want to be at the receiving end of things. I found myself there before by just not paying attention. I didn't do anything wrong. I just didn't pay attention. And I know that once I get the funds, it's tax-free outside of any capital gains or things like that. But is the IRS going to really punish me for this?
Well, I think the key is if you're receiving Social Security SSI benefits based on a disability, there are asset limits. For a single person, it's $2,000 in assets, and that includes cash and money in savings and checking account and life insurance cash value and stocks. And, obviously, so this would be a significant influx of cash, which would be an issue with regard to continuing to receive Social Security benefits based on a disability. So I would make an appointment down at the Social Security office, just talk this through with them and see, what your options are, understand the implications so you're not caught off guard or by surprise when this money comes in. It will certainly be a blessing to have it, but you just have to recognize it may impact, the benefits that you've been receiving. It sounds like this has been a tough journey, John, and I'm sorry to hear what you've been through, but I would go ahead and lean into that, and I'd do it sooner rather than later so you're not caught by surprise.
Gotcha. Rob West, always a great pleasure, sir. Thank you for your time, and we'll come back tomorrow and do it again.
Very good, Steve. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Well, as you think about your money, what are your hopes? Would you like to understand and manage it better? Would you like to know whether you need to make more or just be more creative with what you have? What about being able to meet emergencies when they come up, or establishing reasonable financial goals with your spouse? In Ron Blue's book, Simplifying the Money Conversation, Ron uses his 50 years of experience as a financial planner, author, and CEO of the Ron Blue Institute to help you understand the 4 H's of financial wisdom: heart, health, habits, and hope. This will enable you to live a focused financial life using God's wisdom and direction to meet your financial goals regardless of your income level. Now, this 24-page resource is available to you when you visit moneywise.org. That's moneywise.org. Just scroll to the bottom of the page and you'll see all of our resources there, including this one by Ron Blue, Simplifying the Money Conversation. It's a great primer on how to give and be generous and manage your money according to God's financial principles. Thanks for listening. Have a great remainder of your day, and then join us again next time.
MoneyWise is provided by MoneyWise Media and listeners like you.
Stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. What goes up must come down. There's lots of friendly faces all around, and nothing's ever lifting me higher than a touch of your sweet desire. What we're all built in right. We just have to hold on through the night. As long as we are watching the fire, we'll be safe from the devil's choir. I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Yeah, yeah. When things go wrong, it's easy to sing a sad song. Seems like nothing comes for free. Yeah. And it won't take a lot. Your fragile soul will soon be strong. I'll carry you so tenderly. What I wanna say is that I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Breaks my heart seeing you struggle with the things you do, carrying the world on your shoulder. When did we become so much older? Now I wish I could say that all my troubles gonna blow away, but I won't quit until it gets better, even if it takes me forever. I stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. We can make it.
Thank you for tuning in to the George Espenlaub Show this afternoon. Thank you for listening to MoneyWise. Tune in tomorrow, just about the same time, and we'll bring you another MoneyWise. I'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. for the George Espenlaub Show. My guest will be Rob Roselli. So don't miss it. I will see you then. God bless.